Anyway.
Powered by Riverside.
And just like that, we are back. It's the 4th and 1 podcast live from Lancaster and Lidditz, Pennsylvania, plus wherever the heck Roberto is, some small town we don't care about. It is your host, Fancy Trash Can, a.k.a. self-nickname, a.k.a. a.k.a. Admiral, you like that, a.k.a. your mom says you were an accident, sitting next to, as always.
The names just keep getting longer and longer and longer. Soon half the podcast is just going to be you going, a.k.a.
That was, as always, Captain Boring himself, Micaiah Schlicker, and joined by the man, the myth, the legend, the ginger giant himself. It's not CFP Robert, not CFPB Insider Robert. Can't even get his correct nickname, what he is in my phone. That's what
New
it
member
always
of the
shows
pod.
up at.
New
New
member
member of the pod, at least for the season.
Yeah.
We are welcoming him. Applauses. Here we go.
There it is.
There we go.
Thank you.
There's the
Thank
applause. We're excited to have you, as it's super quiet. We're just going to blast people's ears with hands. Guys, we've got some interesting stuff to talk about, but we're going to go ahead and start with the AP Top 25 came out yesterday, 8/14, and this is the only time in the season, this and for the next about month and a half, or the only time, 2 months, that we actually care about what the AP has to say about anything. And we're going to go ahead and start at the top with probably no one's surprise, but it's Georgia. I don't know if either of you were expecting this, and I will open the floor now for Georgia.
No shocker here. I was a little bit shocked just because they're breaking in a new quarterback, but clearly they are getting the 2010 Alabama treatment, as in the AP believes in Georgia so much that it doesn't matter whether they lose a bunch of seniors. They're just assuming they're going to reload and be at the top.
You know, Robert, has the media moved from Alabama or whatever Alabama was in 2012 to 2020 and moved on to Georgia?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it and Alabama doesn't get any first place votes, I mean, that's a big deal. Georgia got all of 60 of the 63, Michigan getting 2, Ohio State getting 1. I mean, anytime Alabama doesn't get any number 1 votes, I mean, that kind of tells where the landscape of football is headed.
They got 4 votes in the coaches poll, if anybody cares about that, which no one does.
Who were the 4 coaches that you think voted for Alabama?
Well, Nick Saban, for sure.
Nick Saban's 1, so who are the other 3? Lane Kiffin? You think Lane Kiffin voted for
Yeah, I think they're all. I bet Lane Kiffin, Steve Sarkisian, and
Bill O'Brien probably has a vote,
yeah.
even though he works in the NFL.
I mean, you should just hit that no one cares button because the coaches poll doesn't matter. It's just a feel-good poll.
Number 1, how dare you?
That's the first one I could find. I really need to redo our samples. They're pretty bad. Number 2 shocked me for how they ended the season. It's Michigan, who, as Robert says, already also got 2 votes. One of those definitely was Harbaugh, for sure. He seems like the type of dude to vote for himself.
He does.
I don't know how the point system works. They were only 80. I'm doing math in my head, which is never good. 82 points away from Georgia at number 1. What do we think of this?
I just think they're looking at Michigan essentially is bringing back almost the same exact team, especially in skills positions. So it would be hard to put them anywhere outside of probably the top 4. Putting them at 2, I mean,
They're just asking for
better.
8.
Yeah,
They're asking for 8-4, right, Robert?
yeah, 8-4, 7-5.
8-4, 7-5. The curse of Captain Boring, as it will be known to the internet.
We're going to jump down to the runners-up from last year. TCU, nowhere close, not even in top 15, barely in the top 20 at number 17.
Well, here's what.
No,
go ahead. Go ahead.
My question would be, if not Michigan, then who do you put TCU in as a respect? You definitely don't put Ohio State, Alabama, which means you have USC, who was a 2-loss team, and LSU, who technically was a 2-loss team, but much better looking 2-loss team last year.
Well, here's what I found out. What number did you say there were? 16?
17.
They're 17. Their over-under win total on FanDuel is 7.5 games.
Yikes. Disrespect to the Horn Hogs. The Horn Hogs. Horn Frogs.
So that just tells me that the AP poll is giving them respect for last year, because the Vegas people, the people that know something, are saying that TCU is a 8-win maybe ball club.
I want to go as far as to say that they know something.
They know something. They always know something. When lines are close, when it should be a blowout, you know that they know something, because it's always close, my dude. It's always close. They always know something.
I am I am negative $32 all time.
Oh, okay.
At FanDuel, just in case we were curious about that. Robert, were there any surprises on the list for you? Obviously, just to give everybody else, Michigan 2, Ohio State 3, Alabama 4, LSU 5, USC 6, Penn State at 7, Florida State at 8, Clemson at 9, Washington at 10. If that's the final 10, if we could take the final 12 into a playoff at the AP, that would be quite an interesting playoff. But Robert, were there any surprises anywhere in the AP?
LSU up at 5 kind of surprises me. LSU, they finished off pretty strong, but LSU could have a very good year, but I find it hard to believe that USC at 6 would be behind LSU. Other than that, it's pretty run-of-the-mill. Iowa at 25. They are really banking on Cade and Eric All on that team.
Florida State's going to be interesting. They're at number 8 because they have all the talent and they finished really strong last year, but they still lost, 3 games or something last year. So if they put it all together, the ball kind of breaks their way, then, yeah, they're a college football playoff team for sure, because they have the talent and the depth this year to do it, because they have SEC-like depth, according to the reports I'm reading out of Florida State. So them sitting 8 is right there. However, Mike Norvell hasn't proven it yet, so I find that very interesting.
As do I. I don't think... We'll see. This is a make-or-break season for Mike Norvell. I think the biggest surprise I do have is Penn State in the top 10. That's really... Did we already talk about this? I don't want to make sure I'm taking someone else's surprise.
No, the thing I feel about Penn State is they always have the depth, but they're breaking in a new quarterback. So, yeah, but the AP poll for a new year, at the start of a new year, is heavily based on how the teams finished last year, not so much what they should look like this year. And that's all fine and dandy as long as you're willing to move teams around on a week-to-week basis once you see them. Like, if Georgia looks really crappy, but they win their first 3 games, and then Michigan goes out and just beats everyone by 39 points, Michigan should be number 1 over Georgia, but will that actually happen? I don't know.
For the record, you asked who did research off air, and it turns out that I placed 5 bets already, so technically I did research way before you did. So ha 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 ha. Second, I don't like... LSU at 5 looked like a 5th-ranked team. I don't remember how they ended the season. That would probably be the smart thing for the producer to look up. But LSU at 5 seemed like how they finished the season seemed like a 5th-place team compared to Penn State on how they finished the season looked like a 7th-place team. To Micaiah's point, they're bringing in a new quarterback, but every Penn State fan that we talk to, and I say we as in me and Micaiah, Robert, I don't know. I mean, you're a Michigan fan in Penn State territory too. Everybody's excited. I forget his name. Everybody's excited for that quarterback. Everybody
Drew
thinks
Aller.
that's the missing. Thank you. Everybody thinks he's the missing piece. Everybody also agrees that Franklin's good for 2 losses a season. But I don't know. I think they're on 12. I think they should be where Tennessee is. I'd be okay if Tennessee was at 7. I don't think they're a 7th place team, but I'd be okay if Tennessee was at 7.
So the over-under is 9.5. For their regular season win total, it's 9.5. So, Simeon, what do you think more likely to happen? That Drew Aller is a good quarterback and Franklin doesn't mess something up so they get 10 wins? Or that one of those two things aren't exactly true and they don't get 10 wins?
You already know I think they're losing 2 games this season.
So that's 10. So you're taking the over?
I'm taking the over.
Robert, what about you?
I think they go for the under. I think they finish with 9. But they very well.
I was actually pretty.
They very well could be 11-1 in the same sense. It's their schedule is so Michigan and Ohio State heavy.
Don't forget Notre Dame. Don't they play Notre Dame this year
No, that's
too?
Ohio State.
That's Ohio State. That's right. No, Penn State plays USC this year, don't they?
Nope. Wrong again.
No, that's Notre Dame. Okay. We're doing okay. Hey, I
Thinking
was
about
actually,
Notre Dame, huh?
I don't know why it's not the NCAA power rankings aren't up here, but I wasn't far off. First of all, Penn State finished 7th in the AP last year, so they're exactly where they ended the season last year is where they're starting the season. And Tennessee was ranked 6th, so I wasn't too far off for Tennessee. They've actually dropped positions since the final AP poll came out. I guess that's a fun fact there for you.
That's just a fun fact. What else you got, bud?
I thought that was going to be... Am I cutting out again? Oh, looks like the answer is yes. Did I cut out again?
Is he gone again?
Yeah, I did. I did cut out again. This is great.
This is
great
awesome.
podcasting.
This is awesome.
This is great podcasting. So we're going to leave heavily on Micaiah because I want to still do this. Let's move over to the funds. Actually, let's talk about Jim Harbaugh for a second. Came out. Harbaugh says,
okay, I'll go. I'll go. So, the NCAA and Michigan had agreed to a 4-game suspension for Jim Harbaugh. I think the NCAA really wanted 6, Michigan wanted 2, so they settled on 4. Then the NCAA infraction committee said that they did not agree to that, and that's not going to happen, and a full investigation has to take place, and this thing has to basically end up in court. So, Robert, as I said, the vice president came out today and said that this is more than just a cheeseburger. Michigan really violated the rules and should be punished. A, do you believe that? And B, you said something interesting to me off camera that you think that this doesn't matter either way. If Harbaugh coaches all of 23, which is what it's now looking like because punishment won't take place until 24, this could be the last season under Harbaugh for the Michigan Wolverines.
Yeah. So with the NCAA, I think all they're trying to do is flex their muscle or what they have left of because they can't do anything about NIL, and they're seeing how bad NIL is starting to become. So I think they're just trying to go and get everything and anything they can. I also think they just don't like Harbaugh. But it just seems like it's just a cheeseburger, and it's just becoming more of an issue than it needs to be. But yeah, I think if Harbaugh goes and Michigan wins the championship this year, or it does really well, gets the number of kids he wants into the NFL that he thinks he can, and the NCAA comes out and says, hey, we're going to suspend you for 6, 8 a season, whatever, Harbaugh just might be like, you know what, let's take the heat off of the kids, let's take the heat off of the university, and I'll just, hang it up or go to the NFL.
Ward Manuel, I think, is waiting to pay him based on these infractions as well. So Harbaugh's not going to get paid until the infractions are taken care of. So this is just, it's waiting to fall. If I were Harbaugh, I would keep just fighting this thing tooth and nail. Everyone, even Paul Feinbaum is on Jim Harbaugh's side, and that says a lot. If Paul Feinbaum is on your side and you're not an SEC school, this says just a ginormous amount. So, Robert, I don't know where Admiral You Like That went. Hopefully he'll be back. Maybe not. But why don't we have some fun with this podcast, and let's let the people know where they should put their money. Now, we are going to put our money where our mouth is. I'm going to make some bets that I recommend as well. But then I thought that I wrote down a bunch of team regular season over-under win totals. I have my favorite playoff odds and then my favorite odds for the Heisman. So let's just run through. Let's have a little debate. Let's get a debate going. Admiral You Like That is back with us now. So let's just start off hot. Let's start with a nice, easy layup, Get the layup line going here a little bit. Colorado over under 3.5.
I mean, I'm saying they're going under. I'm saying that it'll be 3 on the nose.
So
I think it's 3 on the nose.
There's no way that Dion and everyone he brought in is only good for 3 wins.
He brought essentially a whole HBCU team, and it's nothing against like HBCU schools, but they're not Alabama. They're not.
But he doesn't have to play Alabama. He has to play TCU and Nebraska.
Yeah, and TCU is going to score 34 points and hold them to 17.
I'm not saying he's going to make a bowl game, but dude, 34 and 17. By the way, that spread right now is 20 points. So take Colorado plus the points there in week 1, ladies and gentlemen. That's what Robert's saying, so good on me. But there's no way. I say you take the over here. I'm going to bet. I've already placed a bet for the Colorado win total over 3.5. I think they're closer to 5. Admiral, You Like That? You better make this quick in case you cut out again. What do you got for Colorado? Over or under?
I have them both.
Oh, there we go. Go ahead.
Sorry. I have them over, and I also have them, technically, there's another bet, winning more than 6 games.
Oh, okay. All right. So they're not going to win more than 6 games, but good to know. All right. Robert, let's include you in on the fun a little bit. What is your kind of favorite over-under bet you found, or whatever bet you found?
My favorite one right now is University of Massachusetts over under 2.
Okay. Wait. Oh, you got UMass at 2. So are you taking over under or UMass of 2?
I'm going over for 2. Over 2.
So it's 2.5. So they would have to win 3, right? I would assume.
I think it was DraftKings had him at 2 on the nose.
Oh, okay. So I mean, it doesn't matter. UMass is really bad, though.
But if they win 3 games, doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. So I'll take UMass. Speaking of independents up in that Connecticut area, Northeast area, UConn, not getting much love. Simeon, make this quick. UConn, over under 4.5 games.
Over. I think they're a 6-win team again.
Robert, they were a 6-win team last year. Why the hate? They're bringing back a bunch of people. So I read.
I think it's just because it's UConn, and they're just not a very lovable team at the moment. History's just not on their side.
I'm going to give you guys my favorite under. The over-under win total for Georgia right now is 11.5. You cannot tell me they are going to go back-to-back-to-back undefeated regular seasons. You just can't tell me that. They're going to hit that over. They got to be good for a loss. Someone has got to give them a loss that, it's probably a game that they should end up winning, but they'll lose just because they lose focus, and then they'll give them drive and focus to the Natty. I'm going under the Georgia 11.5.
I mean, I would go under.
You would go under?
If it's not Florida, it'll be Tennessee. If it's not Tennessee, it'll be Missouri.
That's what I'm saying. Someone's got to get them. Someone's got to get them at some point. Admiral, you like that. What do you got for Georgia?
I agree, under 11.
Yeah, I think they're kind of an 11-1 team. Simeon, JJ's odds for the Heisman are plus 1,800. What do you think about that?
I am picking him, and I also have a bet placed for him or Caleb Williams at plus 350.
Okay, all right. Roberto, you'll like this one. Marvin Harrison Jr. for the Heisman plus 3,000.
Yeah, I mean,
if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be him.
It's him.
There is one there are actually two I really like. Michael Penix Jr. has better odds than J.J. McCarthy, Washington quarterback, plus 1,600 there. And then Quinshawn Judkins, the sophomore running back for Ole Miss. He's been practicing his pass catching, led the nation in rushing last year as a freshman, led the nation in rushing touchdowns. Quinshawn Judkins plus 8,000. I think if you want a dark horse, because I feel like the Heisman is always someone you don't see, and I think that would be him this year. Okay. This is kind of disrespect for me, ladies and gentlemen. South Carolina 6.5 over under.
Over.
Yeah, I think this year they go over.
Okay, we're gonna have to find more to disagree about because right now this is just boring podcasting. I also agree with
Nebraska over under 6.5. There's no way they're hitting 6.
Oh, I don't. Oh. No, I'll agree with.
I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think they'll hit 6, but they won't go 7. So
Simeon, that's a good find because as you've said before, in his first years, typically don't go very well. Matt Rule's first collegiate years coaching a team don't go very well. All right, so Simeon's hidden find. Did you actually bet that? Maybe. Okay. So
no,
Simeon's dealing with technical difficulties.
I'm just dealing with it.
Okay.
Northwestern over under 2.5. They're not going anywhere close to 2.
Who?
Northwestern.
Oh, Northwestern. Okay. Yeah, I did want to talk about Northwestern and get your thoughts on Northwestern. So Simeon's going under Northwestern. I'm actually going to go over Northwestern. I think they're somehow they're going to grind out 3 wins somehow.
Yeah, and mainly because this is going to be like that proving, like in your face kind of year with everything going on at the college. It'll be like that big, like the football team stands together kind of deal.
Robert, what's your most controversial prediction for the season?
Most controversial prediction for the season? Auburn. The over under is 6.5. I'm going over.
Okay, I like that. I like that a lot. That's not bad. Do I have Florida on here? No, Miami's over under 7.5. I think that they're good for 8 wins, but I know you hate Miami typically.
Yeah, I mean 6-6.
6-6 for Miami. Okay, the Fighting Kevin Kearns Admiral. Over under 3.5 wins. I always throw it to him right as he freezes. I don't
Under.
Okay, there he came back. He came back.
You get one word answers.
Yeah. One word answers from now on. I thought this was a little low, Robert. USC 9.5. I think that is very disrespectful. I thought that they should have been 10.5. I think they're looking at an easy 10-win schedule with Lincoln Riley in the Pac-12.
I mean, they very well could be 8-4, 9-3.
There's
I'm
no way
going
they're
to say they are going under.
No.
Because not only because they got Notre Dame and Utah back-to-back weeks, and then they also have Washington and Oregon back-to-back weeks.
But what of those teams actually play defense?
USC doesn't play defense.
Well, yeah, so it doesn't
the
matter.
Pac-12 doesn't play defense except for Oregon State.
Does Oregon State actually play defense, or has
Yeah,
anyone
when they
actually
play
watched
USC.
has anyone actually watched Notre Dame play or Oregon State play?
Yeah, the people from Oregon, because it's not a midnight game.
It's not done at halftime's not at 2:30 in the morning Eastern time. Right. I thought this was sticking in the Pac-12. Arizona over under 4.5 games.
4.5.
Oh, you kicked it to me right as I cut out.
No, I didn't kick it to you right as you cut out. I wait to make sure you're moving, and then I kick it to you. Now I've learned.
4.5 Arizona. I don't know.
They
It's
won
the
5
Pac-12.
games. They won 5 games last year. They
No,
won 5.
What I'm interested in is Toledo at 9.5.
Oh my gosh.
No, look up Toledo's schedule, and you and Robert talk about it before I cut out again.
Okay. All right.
Because it's a lot more interesting than you.
And
Arizona over, by the way.
Right as I go. I don't have no idea what's going on. But, they start with Illinois. Let's start there.
All right. I got it. So here is the schedule. It is Illinois, Texas Southern, San Jose State, Western Michigan, Northern Illinois, UMass, Ball State, Miami, Buffalo, Eastern Michigan, Bowling Green, Central Michigan. Okay, so what's the over-under? 9? What do you say? It was 9.5 games? There's no way they're only losing. Illinois is a loss.
Mm-hmm.
San Jose State probably a loss. And I'm just going to say Northern Illinois. So are you saying, Simeon, are you saying you would go under or over?
These, as fast as I can say this, the MAC teams...
And he's gone again.
The MAC teams never always seem to be on a one-year
ladies
cycle
and gentlemen,
on who's good
we're trying.
and who's not. I don't know if you heard that. The MAC teams seem to be on a one-year cycle on who's good and who's not. So Toledo was the good last year. I'm just surprised that they're at 9.5 at all, and they're the favorites.
Well, I would take the under for Toledo just because.
Yeah, because they'll lose.
Seems like a lot.
Watch
It'll
them
either be
nationally
the
ranked.
Eastern Michigan. That'll be the one.
That's it right there. All right. Let's go to the Big Ten here. Michigan State. Mel Tucker, in all of his glory and all of his $95 million contract, gets a FanDuel over-under to start the season of, General, please, 5.5 games, Roberto.
I think they'll go over this year. They're not a good team, but I think they'll go over.
Yeah, I think Mel Tucker is a bowl team coach, which means he will always get his team to a bowl game no matter what. A lot of hype on Texas this year, right, Robert? With Quinn Ewers, you think Ewers is the dark horse for the Heisman, right?
Yeah, I mean, if everything goes his way this year, I mean, how could you not? If he topples Bama, topples Oklahoma, and just keeps rolling.
On the road, he would have to topple Bama. So, over under Texas, 9.5.
Just because it's Texas, you got to take the under.
For the record, I'm enjoying watching this podcast, so continue going.
Okay, great. I would at some point they're going to win 10 games. They're just going to do it. And if not now, then when? I think that was one of the title of our episodes. So I'm going to disagree with you, Robert. I'm going to take the over. I think Arch Manning also starts a game somewhere along the way, but not because Ewers is playing bad, because Ewers gets hurt along the way, but I don't really think it matters. Wisconsin is at 8.5. I am hammering this over because I think Wisconsin is an easy 10-win team. The mix of awesome defense, Big Ten awesome defense with a high-flying air raid system and Tanner Mordecai and their running back, Braylon Allen, is going to just be awesome, an awesome combination.
So Wisconsin is 8.5, you said, yeah?
Yeah, 8.5.
Yeah, they have a cakewalk schedule other than Ohio State and Iowa, which they both get at home. It would not surprise if they go 11-1, potentially undefeated. I mean, that's who on that schedule is going to beat them other than Ohio State.
I don't, as long as the air raid system clicks right away, and I don't know why it wouldn't with Phil Longo and Tanner Mordecai, both coming from the same air raid scheme offense. And they brought in a bunch of wide receivers, so that's important. And then the offensive line and Braylon Allen can just take care of the running game, which is elite, bordering on elite for the better part of the past decade for that program. What's not to love here? Let's mix it up a little bit. This is either going to go one of two ways. Texas A&M's over-under is 8.5. They're either going to be a 10-win ball club and in position for the SEC West title at the end of the year, or Jimbo's going to be fired by week 5. So, which is it going to be, Robert? Is he fired, or are they going over?
He's fired. I think they're under. I think they're going to have a lot of promising things, but I just think they're under.
I think it's going to be one of those situations where they lose to Bama they lose to Miami, people start freaking out, and then he goes on a 4-game winning streak. Then he loses to Bama, loses to Tennessee, it's a bye week, and Jimbo is out the door. I will also say under. I think they are a 7-5, 8-win ball club at next. Robert, I have a big problem with this one. Notre Dame at 8.5. They won 9 last year. Rocky start, new offensive coordinator, but Sam Howell, much more competent quarterback, comes in the building. That defense has always been amazing. 8.5. They do get Ohio State. They do get USC. It's not a cakewalk schedule for the Irish.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I'm thinking they go 10 to 11-1. A lot of it's going to depend on that Ohio State game. They win that Ohio State game and carry that momentum. I mean, Clemson should be good, but Clemson, they're still figuring their stuff out. And then you get USC at home. I mean, you very well could be 11-1, 12-0 in the playoff mix. So I think they're over.
Teams that usually pop off during the season, Robert, you and me both know this, are teams that no one talks about. Now, pop off can be, there can be a variant. You can be normally an 8-win ball club, then win 10 or 11. You can be 6 and then win 9. You can be 6 and then win 12, whatever. Oklahoma State, no one's talking about. FanDuel has their over-under at 6.5. fell off the ravine last year to close the season. They kind of rebooted things within that program, got rid of, let Spencer Sanders go to Ole Miss and kind of just starting over a little bit, kind of what Michigan did after the 2020 season. I just think that Gundy's a heck of a coach and will have these boys ready to battle. I'm not saying they're national championship contenders or Big 12, but I think that they're a lot better than 6 games. Give me 7, give me 8. You're telling me all I gotta is get Gundy to get his team to win 7 games? Easy money there.
Yeah, I mean, the 2 big games are Kansas State and Oklahoma. I mean, you take those 2 games out of the equation, the other 10, BYU is BYU. Houston, you don't know who's going to show up. UCF, you don't know who's going to show up. Their first 4 games, they should easily win. Iowa State, South Alabama, Arizona State, and Central Arkansas. So, yeah, I mean, they could 8, 9, 10 wins.
Robert, we're going to shift gears here to the college football playoff odds. So this is just odds to make the college football playoff. Some of my favorites are LSU plus 380. This is outside kind of your normal Georgia, Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State sort of deal. That's where I went with this. So this is not who I'm saying will make the college football playoff, just kind of lower odds teams to make it. I like LSU at plus 380. Wisconsin, which we talked about already, plus 1,200. I like that one. USC's plus 250. Not sure why they're not getting as much love with Lincoln Riley to make the playoff and Caleb Williams. And then finally, Washington at plus 650. I feel like no one's talking about the team from the Great Northwest.
Yeah, I mean, it's the dark horses to make those playoffs this year. Essentially, it's not wide open, but I mean, you have to give respect to at least Oklahoma, and you would also, you have to give respect to Washington too, because they're biggest teams in the Pac-12, Utah, USC, they handle business with both of them. They're pretty much in. I mean, people are talking about Penn State, but Penn State at plus 300 is not terrible either.
So Washington is a team to keep your eye on. Florida's at 5.5 games. I thought that was extremely low not extremely, but they were a 6-win ball club with Anthony Richardson, who wasn't, I felt like he just kind of relied on his talent. Like he wasn't there to, he just didn't fit what was going on in Florida. You're telling me Billy Napier from Louisiana, fighting Raging Cajun guys, can't get this team to a bowl game? I just don't think that. I'm going the over at 5.5.
Yeah, the over is definitely on the table, but I just they very well might go. I think they're going to go under, actually. They're big wins.
You think under?
Yeah, looking at their schedule, I can say that maybe 4 of the games are guarantees. Everything else is. Utah's not a guarantee. Tennessee's not a guarantee. South Carolina's not. Georgia's not. LSU's not. Florida State's not. Arkansas's not.
My faith in Billy Napier is just obviously higher than everyone else's. And maybe I'm wrong, but I respect guys who, again, he didn't have success right away. I get worried about these coaches that come from these programs and have I'm talking huge success, college football play, kind of like what Sonny Dykes did last year at TCU. I get worried about that because then the expectations are there to start and then immediately in year 3 normally take a step back. So him only going 6-6 last year, he knows how to build a program.
But their quarterback this year is Graham Mertz. And they have, from watching him at Wisconsin, Graham has a hard time throwing the ball.
Yeah. No, I didn't know that, so that's exactly why you're going to be a permanent guest this season on Fourth One Podcast. So everyone get used to Roberto's face because you're going to be seeing a lot more of it, hopefully in much better definition once he actually buys a camera for his computer. Yeah, he says. Okay, so Robert's got the under. I've got Florida at the over. Let's pick. Do you have another one that you like?
Let's see. Vanderbilt. The over-under for Vandy's 3.5.
Oh, hammer that over.
Right?
I think that's an easy. I don't know why. Now, did you see that story how they're playing week 1 in a high school stadium because their renovations are still not done?
First time for a sellout.
First time, first sellout. Yeah. 1,500 people, right?
Absolutely.
Admiral, are you still with us? You've just shut off your video.
No, you shut off your video.
Oh, okay. Well, we have the.
This has been a great podcast, guys. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. Vandy, Simeon, over or under 3.5, 4.5?
3.5.
3.5. Hammer it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're about a 3 or 4 win team. It's a flip of the coin. 50-50. I don't know. It's not the answer you want, but it's the answer you're getting.
All right. So Simeon clearly is not good at podcasting today. Between his computer and his opinions, he's just not spitting any hot takes, which is fine. We all have those days. Let's see, what else do we got on here? Tennessee at over under there is 9.5. That's far too high for them. Far too high. I think Josh Heupel, again, beat Bama, late field goal at home. Got smoked by Georgia I think that was on the road. Yeah, they beat Florida. Florida's going to be better. They'll still have a great offense. I just think also they got UTSA, whose over-under is 7.5 Roadrunners. Meet me. I just think Tennessee's a 9-win, 8-win ball club. Not saying they'll be bad, but and you want to talk about Graham Mertz and us knowing Graham Mertz and how he struggles throwing the football. Joe Milton, we are very familiar with and how much he struggles to throw the football.
Yeah, I'm going to say they're a 9-win team. And within those 9 wins, there's probably 1 or 2 that could probably go the other way. But I think 9 is, I'm pretty confident at 9.
Are they beating Bama back-to-back years?
No.
Are they
Alabama?
Are they getting slaughtered by Bama?
No.
Okay.
Slaughtered, no. They'll still lose by like 13, 10, 14.
Okay.
Nothing
But it's a game
35.
late in the fourth quarter. It's a game late in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's still improvement for the Volunteers, though.
Yeah.
Speaking from that, where that program's been and where it's come from, speaks volumes to Josh Heupel and the job he is doing there. Another one that I thought was ridiculously high was Louisville. Mr. Brahms over there, so you know they're going to win against some ranked teams come October. But more than 8 games, I'm not seeing that at all.
Oh, I got to bring up their schedule.
Because I even think their non-conference is decently difficult. As we wait for the schedule to load, West Virginia, just everyone so that I can kind of fill time here. West Virginia, Neil Brown is either going to really get fired or really have a great season. His over-under is 5.5. I think they do get a bowl game. And I wish you could bet on which coach is going to get fired. I think West Virginia makes a bowl game, but Neil Brown gets fired. So that shouldn't surprise anyone. JMU is an 8.5 point total win machine, or their odds are 8.5 to win. I think at 9 wins, they're winning the Sun Belt. But I don't think that they're going to get there. I think they kind of take a step back. First season in FBS, exceed everyone's expectations, and now come back to earth. Roberto, what do you got on Louisville?
What was the over under for Louisville?
It's 8.5.
Yeah, under at 8.
What don't you like about their schedule?
Well, it's the ACC, and there's only 2 good teams in the ACC, and teams like Virginia, Virginia Tech, Duke, Miami, and North Carolina State, they're all like the same teams. Like they can win, but then the next week they'll lose to someone that they should be. Like they just kind of trade wins. But I think that they'll just have an 8-win season, which that's an improvement for them though. Yeah.
For Louisville, for
Yes.
what? Yeah, I mean, outside of the 2 Lamar Jackson years, yes, absolutely, this is huge improvement for Louisville. Well, Jeff Brom is there with that program. All right, Robert, let's get down to the nitty gritty. They are the number 2 team in the country. The curse of Captain Boring has already started. The hype train is chugging, chew, chew, chew down the tracks in Ann Arbor. It's going to leave the station. It's going to try to go through Columbus and then end up in the college football playoff and specifically the national championship. Both Ohio State and Michigan have the same over-under. Both have the same expectations. I think what both are bringing back, Ohio State more defense, Michigan more offense, has primed them for a deep-seated run. Is this, and they're both 11-0 going into the game like they were last year? Or do one of them, as Admiral You Like That predicted, is Ohio State struggling, or is Michigan struggling, limping into that game? The over/under for both is 10.5. Which one do they both go over, under, or is there a combo?
I think someone's going in with 1 loss, and I'm thinking Michigan's going to go in with 1 loss. I don't like the game at Penn State, even though it's at noon.
So, but are they both going over 10.5?
Oh yeah, they're both going over 10.5.
Okay, that was my thing. I think Michigan is at least good for 11 wins, or should be. Again, the expectations have to be there this year.
Yeah. I think we're going to be stuck in a scenario where Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan are all going to be 11-1.
That will be rather interesting. I think if those 3 teams are stuck at 11-1, whichever team lost least embarrassingly the Big Ten's going to get those 2 teams in, depending on other things.
From what I saw, it was an article I read about, if it would happen, Ohio State gets the nod because of teams in the common opponents they played in the opposite division, and Ohio State plays better teams from the other division.
Okay.
Like Penn State has like Northwestern and I think like Iowa or something.
Right.
And then Michigan's are a little bit better, but then Ohio State has like Wisconsin and like Purdue or something.
Right. Yeah. I think actually Ohio State has Iowa again. They might have Wisconsin and Iowa. So, I mean, either way, the point is made and the point is valid. So, Big Ten could be looking at, again, if Michigan beats Ohio State, but Ohio State makes it, and Michigan's losses to Penn State, and it's a close loss on the road in Happy Valley, and Penn State's only losses to Ohio State. And then we're just going round and round. I think Big Ten has 2 very good arguments to get in the college football playoff again. All right, let's wrap this up with just some rapid fire quick ones, Roberto. That's how we're going to finish this episode of Fourth One Podcast. That has been so great that Admiral You Like That hasn't been able to go, and hopefully we leave that all behind this season. So these are ones we did not cover yet. You just rapid fire, over or under. Notre Dame 8.5.
Over.
Washington 9.5.
Over.
Arizona 4.5.
Under.
Florida State 9.5.
Over.
Let's do it this way. We did Oklahoma State 6.5. Oh, we did them.
I don't know. Did I say over?
That's okay. It is
Okay.
over. UTSA, the Roadrunners, now in the American, 7.5.
They'll go over.
UCLA, 8.5.
Under.
Tennessee, you said under. Baylor, 7.5.
Under.
Under for Baylor. I think you're wrong. Dave Aranda, very good coach. Baylor, I think all their losses last year, 1-score losses. West Virginia, 5.5.
Over.
James Madison, 8.5.
I'm saying they're going under this year.
Okay. All right. I agree with you there. BYU, the Admirals really high on BYU. Well, not really high, but higher than 4.5. But what are your takes on 4.5?
I think they'll go over.
Over Va-Tech, 5.5. Very good defense. Offense struggled last year.
Under.
Under for them. Northwestern, we both. I said over for Northwestern. You also said Florida. You said over. And that, ladies and gentlemen, will do it. Roberto, anything else you would like to touch on before we get out of here? I love your Vandy over 3.5 pick, by the way.
I just want you to know that the Big 12 championship game, Cincy is a plus 10,000.
You betting that?
I could put $1 on it.
Yeah. Did you see Cincinnati's over/under win total this season for the Big 10 or the Big
Yeah,
12?
it doesn't matter because they're going to the Big 12 championship, bud.
Well, it's only 5.5, so I don't think so.
Lock it in.
No, bro. No, lock in that. Hammer that over and hammer the
it.
10,000. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, this has been another lovely, I put that in air quotes, rendition of the Fourth and One podcast. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Don't forget to watch us on YouTube if you listen to us, because we have some good other content on there, like the 10-minute sports report I do. Robert will be around all season for the most part. I've been your host. That is Roberto. Admiral, you like that's been in and out. Thank you, everyone, so much. Wash your hands, you filthy animals. God bless you all, and peace out.